Hello, and welcome to a codependent Christmas holiday episode of We Only Look Thin. I am Katherine Weigel, and I am one of your hosts, and I have lost over 150 pounds the easy way.
And I am your weight loss elf, Donald Weigel. The look of horror on Catherine's face as I said weight loss elf.
I just imagine like the Lollipop Guild, like you in a...
We represent the Don't Eat So Many Lollipops Guild. Come on, that's funny stuff.
All right.
Hi,
hello.
I am Donald Weigel, and I have lost a little over 100 pounds.
Congratulations.
And guess what?
What?
This is a milestone episode. This is our 50th episode of this podcast.
Inspiring episodes of We Only Look Thin?
I mean, there was a point at which scientists were claiming that the internet could not hold as much inspiration as 50 episodes of this show.
Sources say.
But they put their top people on it.
What do we have to talk about? We're thin.
And
We're fixed. We have 50 things to talk about.
Yeah, we apparently do.
Wow.
We might look thin, but we are not fixed.
That's actually kind of crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
It's almost my 3-year anniversary of getting my act together, and I couldn't have inspired a paperclip 3 years ago. Now
you
look
could
at
not.
me. Look at me on the internet with your earbuds.
I mean, pretty much like an internet weight loss mogul now.
Mogul, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
Basically. Wow, congratulations.
Congratulations
Happy 50th.
to you. Happy 50th.
Happy 50th. So, happy holidays for those in our fine listening audience who celebrate Christmas. Christmas is almost upon us.
Yes.
That's awesome. I love Christmas, the whole Christmas season. I don't know why. No one knows quite the reason. I'm sitting here on a cold, wintry day with a hot cup of tea and a hot cup of inspiration for all of our fine listeners.
Yeah,
so,
it's actually raining quite hard in Southern California
sweater
as we
weather.
record this.
And we actually this morning, this isn't the tip of the week. I'm going to tell you anyway, because you're getting an extra. This is an extra stocking stuffer.
Oh my goodness!
This is a
stocking stuffer tip of the week.
Tip of the week. We have decided, because it is very cold in Los Angeles, to rebound in the morning instead of going for walks. I don't know if we already talked about this. We talk about so many different things.
Yeah.
We're watching Christmas movies in the morning before work and rebounding. We this morning we're watching See You in St.
Meet Me in St. Louis.
Meet Me in St. Louis.
Which is, not the most Christmassy movie, but at some point Judy Garland sings I'll Be Home for Christmas in it.
Which is lovely.
It was the debut of that song, I believe.
Yeah, but we've been watching a lot of Christmas classics, ones that would make our daughter roll her eyes back in her head.
Yeah.
So we're saving other Christmas classics like Die Hard for when she is awake.
Yeah.
And if you believe that Die Hard is a Christmas movie, let us know. We're not actually sure yet. But we've been rebounding in the morning away from bad weather. We've been enjoying some Christmas cheer. So do some things inside. Get some steps in while you're watching How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
And speaking of movies, this 50th episode, while you're listening to it, I want you to imagine the Ewok celebration at the end of Return of the Jedi.
Have you seen the version of it without any sound? It looks ridiculous.
It's so
Google
good.
it on YouTube. I think it's Silent Ewok celebration.
They redub it without the music. It's pretty
and you just kind of hear Chewbacca go, and it's really awkward. So silent celebration. Celebrate loudly out there in our listening audience. So so that's the stocking stuffer tip of the week.
Now, let's talk about the real tip of the week. Tao!
Are we diving right in? Are we telling them what we're going to tell them, or we're just going to start with unwrapping the present?
You said it was a codependent episode, which should be a clue to what it is about. This episode is largely going to be about what to do if your significant other is not on board with your weight loss journey.
Not on board. There's only one ticket, and your ticket has your name on it, and it's non-transferable. Nobody else is on board. It's just you. You're
clang,
flying
clang, clang went the trolley. Yeah.
That is another...
Tying it into Meet Me in St.
Oh,
Louis.
the kids love this podcast.
The kids love this podcast.
So we're going to start with the tip of the week, Tao, which is, and Donald's going to be surprised by this, our tip of the week is smoke 'em if you got 'em.
Wait, what? What the heck?
We are not endorsing.
That is not what we talked about.
We have been watching a lot of old Christmas movies, everybody smokes in everybody's faces.
Everyone smokes everywhere.
5-year-olds are smoking cigarettes.
People are smoking at their desks at work. They're smoking at restaurants. They're
playing
blowing
pianos.
smoke into their kids' baby bassinets.
It's ridiculous.
For real.
But the term "smoke 'em if you got 'em." Don't smoke. We don't smoke. We're cool kids. Don't do it. But the actual tip.
Yeah, we don't smoke and we're still cool.
We're still cool, you guys. I don't actually smoke. Our tip is if you have fancy holiday china, you've got crystal goblets, you're not drinking wine every night. What are you going to do with the crystal goblets?
You're trying to cut back on your alcohol consumption to save calories.
So instead of saving up the crystal, the silver, the fine china for special holidays like Xmas, have them 24/7 all the time. I, thanks to a member of another accountability group who mentioned actually using her crystal wine goblets to drink water out of every day to feel special.
Yeah, when we were young and foolish, we put some really nice glassware on a gift registry, I think.
Yeah, we don't have people over. We're hermits. But we've got lots of fine glassware that we're looking at right now.
So it sort of sits in this cabinet, gathering dust. And then we decided, you know what? Let's put sparkling water in it.
Why not? It is festive. It is fancy. And it's a lot better than just drinking out of a sad little juice glass.
Yeah, we used it a lot when we drank wine a lot and champagne a lot. But now we pretty much, I don't drink my calories very often.
Yeah, but I, the other day, I started using our crystal highball glasses to drink water with a little squeeze of lemon. I had
delightful.
My grandmother's actual wedding silver tucked away in a cabinet for 20 years. And then another friend, Sheila, she uses her silverware, silverware. And you know what? I'm a grown-up. I can use silver whenever I want to. So start actually using what you have. Don't save it for company.
Yeah, and it makes your 250 calorie lunch seem really fancy.
It does, and I've said it before. I have also my grandmother's wedding Lennox, and I tucked it away because I didn't think the plates were big enough for my hungry man meals that I would eat every day. It's only 8 inches wide. I need at least 12 inches of food in
plates
circumference.
Were not as big back then.
And they were not. So use what you have. Smoke them if you got them. Wash them if you got them. Use them if you got them.
Yeah. So that makes that flavored sparkling water seem all the nicer.
Very fancy. So that is our tip of the week. Tao!
Tao! Tip of the week to you, darling.
Tip of the week to you. So now we're going to go on to topic 2, which is a sad subject that we know way too much about, which is waiting for your significant other, your roommate, your family to get on board with your weight loss goals. So, Donald, why don't you talk about our 20 years of marriage? Why don't you start there?
Well, they've been nothing but delightful.
I said delightful too.
We said delightful at the same time.
That's what we tell the green card agency anyway.
Yeah. We've only ever encouraged each other and supported each other's healthy habits.
No, we've eaten a lot of really bad food together.
Oh, yeah. We spent the most of the first 20 years enabling bad behavior.
Marriage is a celebration. We've talked about it before. We, new couples, fresh in the dewy glow of new relationship, you go to the Cheesecake Factory and you get lots of food. You go out for lunch.
Yeah,
you go out for breakfast. You treat each other to monthly. We actually never did that, the monthly, we've been together a month and we're having a celebration dinner. We kind of waited for the bigger ones.
Yeah.
Every day was a celebration.
Yeah, we didn't need a monthly anniversary for a celebration dinner. We just
needed Taco Tuesday.
It was a day ending in Y, and so we ate a celebration dinner.
But occasionally one of us would hop on board the motivation bus and decide that we were going to change our habits.
I almost made a truck horn noise, ha ha. I don't know why a bus sounds like that.
The El Dude Brothers.
Yeah.
So we would occasionally get on board. I joined Weight Watchers probably 20 times. And occasionally I would force Donald on the Weight Watcher wagon with me. He hated the meetings. He didn't want to go to them. He didn't want external accountability. I forced him along anyway. It didn't go very well for me.
That is not to say if the meetings work for you, don't do them. But they were not my thing.
But we enabled negative habits in one another quite often. And
we spent a lot of time sabotaging each other. And, it was sort of, I want to be on board with a plan. I want to be, I'm putting this in air quotes, good. So I'm going to, try and get my act together. And, Catherine would do that, and I didn't feel like doing it. So I would, whether it was consciously or unconsciously, I would suggest we get takeout or, it didn't take much if I was trying to be on a plan and she would suggest some food. It was really easy for me to cave.
And I was secretly probably trying to sabotage him because change is scary. And when you are married, at least at first, or even if you're living with someone or you have a roommate or even your group of friends, you want to do what is easy and what comes naturally. And what comes naturally to me is eating lots of food. And when Donald would make an overture to change a habit, like I think I remember the first time you said you were going to go for a run, I was like, this shall not stand. I was like, I come from sitting folk and we don't run. Like we run like from zombies, not like just for fun.
You weren't a fitness professional. You were a sitness professional.
Oh, what? Boom, trademark it. Get it on a t-shirt.
You can't just make this stuff up.
So we for decades, literally, would jump on board a new regimen. One of us would, both of us would, but it always ended in sabotaging one another. It would always end in an indulgent getaway that, we promised would just be like, I think we went to Vegas for one of our anniversaries.
Yeah.
And I remembered I was like, the first thing I'm doing when we get off the plane, gamble? No. Smoke? No. Get a lap dance? No, thank you. I would like Cinnabon.
Yeah.
And like literally
you
would
have
tuck
all these
in,
things in Las Vegas and like Cinnabon was the biggest attraction.
Cinnabon was my emotional lap dance. So yeah. So we did that for very many years. And there were times when Donald would get on board. I know we had talked about him having a heart situation. Myocardial infarction.
I'm not even sure if that was it, but
I think it was. Sue us if
sounds
it's not
good.
it.
It was like something you'd hear on ER.
But Donald got into decent shape. He lost maybe 50 pounds. He was working out.
I lost 50 pounds a couple times.
I felt very threatened by that. And I would maybe get on board for a little while and then get off. And it was always kind of short-sighted. It was never about growing old gracefully together. It was just sort of like staying out of trouble with the doctors, like getting fit for a wedding. But it was never, I don't know, like I never saw it as a long term. I saw it as a finish line.
Yeah.
Go back to the finish line episode.
Yeah, and I think that this leads into, what are the reasons that your significant other might not want you to get on board with a fitness program, with, getting your head together, with, becoming healthy, losing some weight. And I think a lot of it comes from guilt and fear. And in my case, there were many times where Catherine would suggest that, that she eats better. She wasn't even saying that I should do it. But I had no interest in doing it, and I would feel such guilt. And whether, in hindsight, this has all become clear to me. At the time, I'm not even sure I realized it, but I didn't want to get my act together. I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to restrict what I was eating. I didn't want to do any exercises. And so I would try and sabotage what she was doing. And again, maybe not even consciously, but I just didn't want anything to do with it.
I would kind of maybe hope that he would. And it was always like that. I jumped on the motivation bus. I suddenly felt this zeitgeist to lose weight, but I never really thought about a healthy lifestyle. And I think there are two kinds of relationships. There are relationships of enablers who you both are maybe overweight and you don't want to change your lifestyle. You just want to do what's easy and comfortable. There's also the relationship, which I know I have been a part of, where maybe your significant other doesn't have a weight issue.
Yeah.
and they can eat whatever they want.
Yeah,
and
that's
they can
really annoying.
eat 2 hamburgers and a 6-pack of Coke and not gain a pound. And so you're trying to keep up with their eating regimen while not actually doing the work. Fun fact, Donald Weigel Evans Jr. had a birthday earlier this week.
I sure did.
Happy birthday to you, Donald
Thank
Jr.
you
Weigel
so much.
Evans Weigel. Hey there. He got in very sneakily. Donald, how many steps did you get in?
Well, I turned 49 years old, and I decided I was going to hit 49,000 steps, and then I got an extra 1,000 for good measure.
Just for
50,000,
funsies.
you know.
So, want to ask me how many steps I got?
How many steps did you get that day?
Oh, I'm happy you asked. I think I got like 18,000 steps. So
Yeah,
I'm not saying I didn't get.
That is still pretty great.
I'm not saying 3 years ago that would have been like a month's worth of steps. But on Monday, Donald got 50,000 steps, and his Fitbit said he'd burned about 5,000 calories, maybe just shy. Guess what I thought? I also deserve to eat 5,000 calories because Donald achieved a goal. And oh, wait, no, I didn't do that myself. And I don't get to eat his calories just because he did. And he didn't actually eat 5,000 calories, but like.
No, but you did incept me like at a certain. you were like, wow, you can eat whatever you want.
Must
and
be
I was
nice.
I was like, I can eat whatever I want. And it's my birthday, so I'm going to eat whatever I want.
You. Must be nice to you. But I really must be nice. I invoked the he did it, so I should be able to do it too. I almost invoked the it's his birthday, so I should also celebrate. So having a spouse maybe that doesn't have a weight issue, a sweetheart who works out or goes on long runs that you don't actually go on. So there's the healthy spouse or sweetheart who doesn't have to worry about their weight, and then there's the one that maybe just is overweight, just like you, and who doesn't want to do the work at that time.
Yeah.
So,
and hey, I just to go back, I want to finish the birthday story. We did though. You did talk us out of going out and having a birthday meal. That night. No, but I think that's progress. I mean, it was sort of like, even though it was my birthday, even though I got 50,000 steps, you were like, I don't trust myself not to eat all the food right now. And so I think that is a big sign of progress.
Well, we were going to go to a particular restaurant, and then our daughter had too much homework and we couldn't go to that restaurant. So Donald suggested an alternate place. And I was like, well, that's not what we said we were going to do. And then I just imagined myself eating double portions of everything. And I've kind of been having a rough little week and a half, 2 weeks or so since Thanksgiving. So yeah, I did do a great job. You're right. I'm awesome.
Yes, you did.
Even though I didn't
I'm very
burn
proud
the
of you, and I
calories.
was very thankful later that you had talked us out of it.
Thanks. Sorry, I was a bummer. So there's two types. There's it's Christmas right now. You're enjoying lots of sweets and treats and indulgences, and right on the horizon is New Year's. And you're looking at your new year, new yous. Suddenly you're going to wake up January 1st as a new person with new ambition. But those around you aren't supporting your goals.
Yeah,
they're not.
Specifically, your significant other.
Yeah. So what do? Do you give up? Do you decide that you're not going to bother because the circumstances around you, the people around you, aren't supporting your habits?
Well, I think there are a number of ways to approach it, and I think that the first thing to do is try and get your mindset together. And I started to talk earlier about reasons your significant other might not be on board. One of them is guilt and not wanting to do anything for yourself. Another one might be fear of, if you lose a lot of weight, maybe you'll leave. And that is a real fear that I think people have, that maybe you get into go out of my league, so to speak. And another thing could be that the person just doesn't believe you. They've seen you go up and down the scale. They've seen you do these things again, and maybe they don't think you're serious.
Well, and I think that is a big issue. I mean, I know there was someone I dated before Donald, BD, who...
You dated people before me? What the...
You actually know the dude. So,
oh, yeah.
Yeah. let's call him. No, Donald almost spit out his tea.
I was drinking tea.
Okay.
I almost did a spit take live on the microphone.
Ruins microphone.
Wow.
Okay, so I dated someone who was naturally slim and naturally a total jerk face, and I had
almost
weight
did
issues.
Another spit take.
And I remember saying at one point that I was going to really start working on losing weight, and he said, "Ha! You've said that before. What makes you think you're going to do it now?" Such a delightful man. Look how good Donald Weigel Jr. looks next to that piece of trash.
Like, I look so good she married me.
Terrible. Never let anybody talk to you that way. But those times when you don't want to put yourself forward and be vulnerable because of potential judgment. Oh, you've said that before. What's different now? Or even worse, you're trying to come up with a plan and someone said, "Boy, I thought you were on a diet," which has also been said to me by many people before.
Yeah,
so there's shame around it.
The flip side of this, too, is that the person might be trying to protect you from yourself. That maybe they've experienced you, like, getting on a plan before.
And coming in hot.
And coming in hot, and then failing, or going off the plan, and they see how dejected and upset you are, and so they would rather that you just stayed on the path you're on rather than, try and fail, which is also not good. But it at least if you try and understand where your partner is coming from, maybe it makes it easier for you to move on and get past it.
Well, and it's funny too, Donald and I, we talk before the episode, and he was sort of sharing some of his ideas, and on the Gretchen Rubin for tendencies front, Donald is much more of a questioner. He likes facts and details and kind of bullet point justification.
Do you have facts to support this assertion that I'm a questioner?
I think you took the test, and I think Gretchen Rubin actually has that as one of the things. Like, why should I take this test? Because I'm a questioner. Like, that's classic questioner.
Yeah.
I am an obliger, and I like external accountability, which is, I think, why I joined Weight Watchers so many times. But Donald was like, break out the details and come up with a list. And I was like, that makes me very nervous. Like, I don't want details and information. So I think understanding that your spouse or your significant other is coming from a different tendency and a different viewpoint. Like, I'm very much like, I need support and I need encouragement. And Donald is much more about facts. And as his motivation. So
but I think that trying to wrap your head around the reasons why your significant other, and not thinking of them as being your enemy, or at least not your intentional enemy in this journey, but trying to then empathize with their reasons might make it easier for you to at least understand and perhaps talk to that person.
Well, and when I started 3 years ago, for decades, we enabled one another's bad behavior. We would jump on weight loss regimens together. We would jump off. Donald would be doing something hardcore. I wouldn't. And there was a lot of jealousy in there if one person was having success and the other wasn't. I know for years, I never told Donald what I weighed because I knew I weighed more than him. And I felt a lot of shame around that.
Yeah, I did not know.
And, he didn't know about the shame. He didn't know about the weight. And I felt like it was like this secret bank account I couldn't tell him about, or that I didn't have any money. There was a lot of shame around it. And I think the more open and honest that we've been in our 40s, the better our relationship has gotten. And when I started 3 years ago, I just knew I had to start fighting for myself because I was so miserable and so depressed and so overwhelmed. And I couldn't live with myself the way I was anymore. I knew whether Donald was going to move forward or not, that I had to start practicing some self-care. I didn't think I was going to lose 100 pounds. I just wanted to stop crying and feeling empty and depressed every day. And I had to be courageous enough to move forward without Donald's support. I think I even told you what I was doing, and you're like, I'm out. I'm just happy eating the food.
Which leads us to, what do you do? And I think that that is one thing that you can do is just hit rock bottom and move on without your significant other, and then wait for your significant other to come down with type 2 diabetes, and then that person gets on board with
That's what happened to us.
Oh, that's what we did. Yeah.
But I for 3 months was working on tracking calories and getting in my Fitbit steps. And then, like Donald said, he was diagnosed with the sugar.
Yeah. Get the bad sugar.
Which really sucked. It was really awful. And the grim specter of our future of him losing a leg.
I don't actually, I know we're joking around. I don't actually recommend this plan. This is exactly what happened to us. And it got us both onto the same page, but it's not a great idea. I did want to mention, though, that the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control, does predict that in the next 30 years, as many as 1 in 3 Americans will have type 2 diabetes, which is crazy. That is a lot of people.
That's a lot of people.
And I don't recommend getting it, believe me.
No.
It's not fun.
But I think, in the past, we looked at vanity, looking good for a wedding or an event as our motivation. And we've hammered this point down so often, but we are growing old together. We are looking to our future, and we're at a point where whether you have aging parents or grandparents or neighbors, and you see how they're able to move or not able to move. Like talking directly to Donald, at the time, we weren't really thinking about growing old together and looking to our future. But the idea of Donald losing a leg because of diabetes, that was a wake-up call.
It shocked me into doing something.
And, we're both able-bodied, we're capable, and if we can prevent aging poorly, that is a huge shift mentally. We're we grew up. We're okay, message received. This is about our actual futures together.
Yeah. So what practical advice can we give people moving forward, when your significant other is not on board, or maybe even when your significant other is trying to sabotage you, either consciously or unconsciously? And I think a lot of it has to do with what kind of relationship that you have. One approach, though, is the sort of subtle / lead by example approach.
Well, and I think that that's what I did. And it wasn't even purposeful. It wasn't I am about to lead by example. It was just I got to do my own thing because this is killing me. It is actually killing me to keep living the same days over and over again. And if you wait for the people around you and the circumstances around you to roll out a red carpet of perfect weight loss, it's not going to happen. There is never going to be a point that is perfect and family is aligned and work is aligned and circumstances aligned. So you just have to fight for yourself regardless of what your spouse or significant other wants to do.
Yeah, and I think in this approach, you refrain from making big statements. You refrain from the I am going to lose X amount of weight. I am going to, get on this healthy bandwagon plan. I am going to do X plan or Y plan. You just start doing it, and you lead by example. And maybe you just make subtle suggestions. Maybe it's hey, instead of, driving over to Rite Aid, why don't we walk? It's nice outside and we can talk to each other.
Well, and that's what we did. I decided that we should start walking our daughter to school. And Donald didn't take kindly to that.
No, I didn't love it.
But I bullied him into doing it. But literally walking a quarter of a mile to school and back was
and
how
I had no
we
idea what it was going to start, but
I tricked him into fitness.
Yeah, I went along with it.
Now look at him, 50,000 steps in a day.
I know. Look what you did. But maybe you just make a healthy meal for the two of you or for the family, but you don't announce that it's healthy. You make something new, you find a good recipe that is in your plan and also tasty, and you serve it to the group and you don't say anything, and you just start adding 1 or 2 meals a week like that into the regimen.
Well, and we have people in our accountability group too who aren't the primary food makers in their home for dinner and who feel like victims of circumstance, like, well, my mom cooks for us, or my husband does all the cooking, or my wife does all the cooking. What am I going to do? You are a grown-up and can decide what you put in your mouth. Donald and I do not eat the same foods.
No.
Like hardly anything.
No,
that
in fact, we
eat.
hardly ever make anything for each other, and it's been that way for a long time. But, partially because I'm vegetarian.
Yeah. But also, like, if you have a spouse that is making something more decadent for dinner, make yourself some broccoli on the side and skip the pasta or skip the rice. Like, you have to be an advocate for yourself and start finding ways to sneak in healthier options. Pump up the volume,
which is a great episode of this show.
It is fantastic.
Yeah.
But find ways to make changes to your meals. If someone's making chicken, have some on the side without the sauce. If someone's making burgers, skip the bun or skip the fries and have a salad on the side. The more you can be a champion of your choices and less a victim of, but this is what's being served for me. Like, how's being a victim treated you so far? How's that gone for you in 40 years? For me, no bueno.
Yeah, and also part of this is you can, I don't know, try the Inception method, which, it really worked for me. I think Catherine's talked about it before on this show, but I didn't realize it was working. But instead of her trying to give me advice, she would say, I would ask a question or something, and she would say, well, you know what Heather on Half Size Me says, or what Gretchen Rubin says.
Yeah, I was listening to this the other day. You can use "we only look thin" as your excuse.
Yeah, you can say Donald and Catherine, you know what they said. And maybe even play our podcast or something else, or an audiobook or something, like play it around your significant other and just let them absorb it on their own, and maybe something will click.
Well, and I think that definitely has helped us, because I hate it. Like, even when Donald was like talking about stuff to talk about on this episode, and he was like, well, give a list of, good reasons to lose weight.
We
I was
haven't
like,
gotten to that yet.
I will cut you if you give me good reasons to lose weight.
Yes. Anyway.
But if Gretchen Rubin gives good suggestions, then it seems much less judgy.
Yeah, well, look, and I wasn't talking about, like, trying to convince you.
I've actually lost 150 pounds. I was like, don't you tell me what to do.
I know. Well, the next step, if none of this is working for you, or maybe you've got a relationship where you feel like you can open up and talk, is to communicate. And
with my spouse? No, thank you. That's not what this relationship is about.
Hopefully you can communicate. And even if you can't get your significant other to on board with you, or maybe you shouldn't even try, is one of the pieces of advice that I give. But is to at least try and explain to them what you're doing and that you would appreciate them not trying to sabotage you. But go in with an understanding that your significant other may not understand why you need support, and you may have to go on without their support.
Well, and if you have a spouse that doesn't have a weight issue and can have, half a dozen cookies or 6 sodas in the house, like, being in a position where you just pull back from it and say, that's not my food, that's not my... Right. I'm not going to have it, and don't even make a big deal out of it. Like, we have to come up with ideas all on our own from podcasts, like for our podcast. And it's like, if you have a food pusher who's like, oh, come on, like, have a piece of cake. Like, there's a lot of social pressure to engage in behaviors that others are engaging in. Drinking every night, eating lots of sweets, getting appetizers.
Especially at this time of year, if you're listening to this around Christmas time.
And just saying, if you don't want that confrontation, or you don't want the, like, these are my needs and this is what I'm doing, just be like, you know what? Funny enough, I don't feel like cake tonight. Yeah. It's weird. It's as weird to me as it is to you. I'm skipping cake. Leave it at that. You don't have to go into a big like statement about your lifestyle, because I have worked in sweets and treats and alcohol into this plan. And in the past, I've had people say, like, I've made pancakes, and someone said, I thought you were on a diet. You're never going to lose weight eating pancakes. And getting that judgment can be a total shutdown. So just not making a big deal out of it, and just like start, like Donald said, lead by example. Just do things quietly and don't make big, bold statements so that you get things like, you know, I knew it would never last. Like, because that does happen. People get really judgy, and people treat their spouses really poorly sometimes, I think. Yeah,
for sure. But if you are at a point where you're going to but you're going to open up and communicate with the person, try and let them know that this is about you. One approach is to just tell them that you have to do this for yourself. And, you know, please, you know, if you're not going to join me, at least stay out of my way. And let them know that you don't expect them to do what you're doing. You just expect them to be supportive of what you're doing. And hopefully that helps. Another possible thing to do is, again, not even necessarily trying to get them to do what you're doing. And this is what enraged Catherine earlier, is lay out the benefits of doing it. You know, tell them for you don't want to develop type 2 diabetes. That maybe the benefit for your significant other is that you'll be able to wear that outfit that they like that you can no longer fit into.
Or not snoring.
Which has been a huge thing for our marriage.
Huge change. I don't want to tell you how many times I almost smothered him in his sleep from snoring. We have a very happy marriage now. But like...
Yeah, I stopped snoring after I lost the weight.
Oh my gosh. But like... all of those really practical things matter.
You know, maybe there's an activity. Maybe your significant other, likes to do long walks, or maybe they like to do ultimate frisbee or something, and you just can't. Maybe you tell them, look, maybe if I get into better shape, I can do these things with you.
Well, and two, and something I've always talked about doing and have never done is ballroom dancing. Actually having an activity together once a week.
We've talked about that for a long time.
Even before Dancing with the Stars.
Which is another thing to do. Try and come up with an activity that the two of you have always wanted to do, or that you know your significant other has always wanted to do, and maybe you make that a part of your lifestyle and make it a priority so it's something that they enjoy but is physical activity. Maybe it's cross-country skiing. Maybe it's throwing a frisbee in the park.
Well, and we, with our daughter too, because, kids have a lot to do with this too. Our daughter is a couch enthusiast, much like us.
Oh, very much
her dear
so.
Mama and Papa. But going out for an evening walk, we have a little library in our neighborhood, which is a little free library. Yeah. Walking to the little library after dinner, not just sitting all the time.
With our daughter, we have the advantage of being able to force her to go.
Yeah.
Also.
But just, taking a 10-minute walk after dinner. Walking to the coffee shop instead of driving, walking to the Rite Aid, walking to Starbucks, sneaking in those steps, parking farther away, and making your spouse walk with you.
Yeah, for sure. And just you don't even have to make a thing about it. Just, take that far spot and go for it.
Like a week ago, Donald parked close to somewhere, and I was like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I don't even remember why I did it.
But it was it was raining or something. It was a practical reason, but I got that's not the kind of people we are.
Exactly. And look, if all else fails, you have to do this for yourself. And so maybe you need support from somebody, some people, a group of people outside of your significant other.
That is huge.
You probably have friends, coworkers who are like-minded and are trying to get fit, and, you can team up with those people.
Go on a walk at lunch. Take a weekly class at your favorite yoga studio or at your gym.
Maybe you've got a family member who's fit, and you team up with that person. But like Catherine said, gym classes would be a great idea. You go to that spinning class you've always wanted to try, or that Zumba class, or that jazzercise.
Well,
they
and
still do jazzercise?
They do. It is a real thing. Zumba-size, jazzercise.
Nice.
Spin-a-size.
Anything with a size. You do it.
But actually, speaking of sizes, when I started 3 years ago, I joined the Half Size Me weight loss community. And it is scary to talk about issues with your spouse.
Sometimes even people you know and love, it's scary
because they're
so
judging
finding
you.
An online accountability group, which we happen to be starting one.
Yeah, but like actually joining a community of like-minded people who get the process, who get the problems, who have advice and support to give in an honest and judgment-free space. Like when I used to go to Weight Watcher meetings, no shade on the fine people at Weight Watchers, but it would just be a kind of a grousing session. And I never talked about secret eating. I never talked about emotional eating. I never talked about enabling codependent behaviors with Donald.
And sometimes online with, mostly strangers or people that you only know from this group, everybody is there for the same reason, and that they're all there to support each other, and that maybe that is what you need to get you through if your significant other cannot supply it for you.
Well, and that has been so freeing for me. And as Donald said earlier, in 2018, after we started We Only Look Thin, we started a little accountability group, a little accountability buddies. We're still coming up with our names. Not comfortable with tribe. Not comfortable with community. It's like
the Wolt Pack.
The Wolt Pack. Wow. That didn't fly either. I tried it, and they're like, no, thank you.
I love your growl, though. That was good.
Who doesn't? But we have a little gang of people who are supporting one another, and it's grown and it's maturing over the years. We're keeping it small, but in 2019, we are doing the Wolt Place, which is going to be a place for community and fellowship and support for women just like me and you. We're keeping it for women because, frankly, dudes just don't contribute the way that women...
I don't even know what dudes want or need, or I don't know. I feel like we don't like talking to each other about it, though.
Yeah, like, I don't know if there should be like a bro shack or something where you don't actually talk about weight loss.
Dudes want to talk about, gains and swole and, putting on muscle. They don't want to talk about feelings and emotional eating.
Yeah, and it's really hard because I am an obliger. I want to help everybody, but we are opening Wolt Place in 2019, date to be determined.
Yeah, a place where you can be yourself while working on the you that you want to be.
Exactly, and we're keeping it very small. I was looking at another accountability group on Facebook for another very popular weight loss podcast, and her club, her fans, 10,000 people in the group.
Wow.
I don't even know how that happens, which is amazing, and which obviously she has a lot of support, but we are going to be working on supporting a small number of women on their journeys. I want to know everybody's name. I want to know what you're doing, what you like in your coffee. We're keeping it very small. So there will be more information on Wolt Place coming up when we open our doors. I think we're doing a waiting list, so we will post about that. But
I'll put a link in the show notes, and there'll be something on our Facebook page and whatever. But even if you don't want to be part of our group, even if that's not your thing, if your significant other just isn't on board, find your own group, find your own team somewhere. There are people out there that are like-minded that, can help you. Yeah,
people at work, a fellowship at your church. And there are a gazillion bajillion online support communities.
Oh, yeah. Not just ours, even though ours will be the best.
For free, some are paid groups, and we've got a lot to offer and a lot of support, and we love doing it. So more info to follow on that. But we, again, Fun Police, we're adults, and we have to make choices for ourselves and for our personal well-being, our mental health. And I want to grow old with Donald gracefully.
I want you to do that, too.
I don't want...
I want to keep our mobility
that is huge
into our 70s and 80s and beyond.
That is huge. I have two grandmothers, one who was very, very active and outgoing. She is 94 years old. She's pushing along. Yeah. She's making it happen. She's in a lot of pain, but she spent her life moving. My other grandmother spent her life sitting, and it did not go well. Love her to death, but she was bedridden, and it is heartbreaking to see that as we're getting older. So Merry Christmas.
Yeah, I mean, try dreaming together as a couple, and think about how you want to grow old together. Think about how what you want your life to be, and think about how much better it will be if the two of you are fit and healthy.
Well, and for the listeners out there who are on their own, who might not have a sweetheart, mobility is so important just for all of us, and we're in this together. We want to support you. So thank you so much for listening to our podcast.
I think it's time now for the product of
Pow!
the week. Pow!
Somebody in our group, Lindsay, suggested a song to go along with our POW. And I told her that it was we had to get licensing releases. It almost had me in an ear seizure. It was so fast. It was like pow, 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 pow. So I'm not actually singing it in tune. But if you have any good ideas for POW songs that are license free,
we'd like to hear about it.
We'd like to hear about it. So the product of the week is a POW song.
The product of the week is actually a tape measure.
A fabric tape measure.
Fabric tape measure.
You can get them at Joann's Fabrics.
And
Michael's
I think
Crafts.
one of the things that really helped me along the way was focusing on some non-scale victories that did not involve the number that was on the scale, my actual weight. And I guess Catherine must have suggested this. At some point, I took measurements. I measured myself. I measured my waist. I measured my hips, my chest. And even if the scale wasn't coming down in a way that I wanted while I was losing weight, I could measure myself and see, real gains with this tape measure. And it was a real boost to morale.
Well, and I think I suffer from body dysmorphia, and I don't see myself as smaller than I used to be. But when I go back, like saying 150 pounds, like it's kind of amorphous unless you pick up something else that's 150 pounds. But when I go and see that my hips are 10 inches smaller than they used to be, and I take that tape measure and hold it out 10 inches larger, I see how much space I took up. And, I have some old clothes that I keep from before that I can go back and reference. But having a tape measure feels a lot less scary sometimes than stepping on a scale, and having that way to measure progress is really helpful. I definitely look back
a visual representation of how far you've come. It can be a real boost.
Yeah, so that is our product of the week. Pow!
Thank you so much for listening. We appreciate every one of you. If you could take a moment and go to iTunes and rate and review us, it would mean a lot. Subscribe to us. You can subscribe to us anywhere that podcasts are found, including Apple. And you can also find us at weonlylookthin.com.
You can find us on Instagram at weonlylookthin, and Facebook at weonlylookthin,
and Twitter at weonlylookthin.
We Only Look Thin.
If you have any questions, we would love to hear from you. You can email us at weonlylookthin@gmail.com.
Yeah, or post on our Facebook page. Have you had experience with sabotage? Have you had experience with going it on your own?
And look, I would love to hear tips from you if you have found ways to get through to a significant other, to get them on board, or just ways to achieve your own goals without the support of your significant other. All those things would be wonderful to hear from you about.
Yeah, so have a wonderful holiday season. Enjoy time with family. Enjoy time with your favorite pet. And thank you for enjoying some time with Donald and Catherine. I'm going to start talking about myself in the third person. Our team of people want to thank you for listening.
So when your significant other is getting you down and you start talking about yourself in the third person...
Wait a minute, I feel like this is a personal attack.
Just remember that Catherine and I are an inspiration. Asian. The information that you hear on this podcast is for informational purposes only. The hosts are not medical professionals. You should always consult with your doctor, nurse, or other certified health professional before beginning any diet or fitness program.